curtain was about to come down on the 1988 season, but Senna hadn't given up trying. He started from pole position, and nor did his teammate Alain Prost, who shot into an early lead. Senna managed to get second place, and that man Berger was there, hopping over the curbs in his Ferrari to take third place. And the two Williamses were very well up at the start of the Australian Grand Prix. Cooler than it had been during practice, still a little bit dusty, especially offline. This track was known to be treacherous, hard on brakes, hard on tyres, an extremely abrasive surface, but Prost was determined that he was going to go ahead of his teammate, the man who'd won the World Championship in Japan the race before. And out they went, and Senna was up on the curbs there, trying hard. He wanted to win this last race of the season, so did Berger. Then Mansell, then Piquet, Patrese, and Michele Alboreto was out, his last drive for Ferrari, and he was out on the first lap. A great shame for him. And Piquet was being attacked by Mansell and Patrese as the normally aspirated cars made their way down the Brabham Straight on this fabulous street circuit. Fast and furious stuff. Most of the drivers who'd secured their contracts for 1989 were putting on a good show, but those who hadn't were determined to put on an even better show, and Riccardo Patrese was determined to show Mansell in his last race as his teammate, who was bossed by taking 5th place from him there. And Nelson Piquet was using the power of the Honda engine for the last time to good effect. But Gerhard Berger was on a charge in the Ferrari and took second place from Ayrton Senna like this. Over the curbs on the inside, Senna had no alternative but to let him through. Off you go, Gerhard. Prost hammering out in the front, and Gerhard Berger just threw away his rip-off visor there, but started closing on Alain Prost in the lead. But there was nothing Ayrton Senna could do about it. Try as he might, the Ferrari driver was really flying and starting to haul in the leader Prost. In 4th place there, Nelson Piquet. There's Prost in the lead, and closing on him was Gerhard Berger. The last turbocharged race for his V6 Ferrari engine, and he wanted to show all the engineers back in the pits that he meant business. And just watch this, as Berger went inside Prost, Prost didn't do anything about it. He let him go, left a little bit of room for him. He didn't fight like Senna did to hold off the Ferrari driver. Maybe Prost knew something that Senna didn't. However, further back down the field, Thierry Boutsen had a big spin which dropped him from 11th place to 13th, an uncharacteristically low position in a Grand Prix for him and for Benetton. In fact, they were having problems getting the power down at this circuit, and atmospheric cars are normally good here. Not as good as Berger was, though. He was still charging in the lead and going past the back markers, coming down at the end of the straight, but Arnoux hadn't seen him, took his line, chopped him across, and they were both out of the Australian Grand Prix. That's how it happened. Perhaps Gerhard should have waited. So that's how Prost got back into the lead of the Australian Grand Prix. Really tigering drive from him. Sterling, what do you think of that incident?
That was an unfortunate and absolutely unnecessary accident, quite honestly, because Arnoux, although he caused it, I think Berger has to be held responsible, because after all, he knows Arnoux, he's a very experienced person, he knows that's the sort of thing he would do. He should have held back and not passed him there, I would have thought. Now they begin the long, silent walk back.
De Cesaris was going absolutely flat out at this point and caught and passed Capelli, taking 6th place. And his Real Ford had the smallest fuel tank of all the normally aspirated cars, but no fuel gauge. Capelli down to 7th, and just like the Benettons, the Marches were not getting their power down in Australia. Nakajima was following Gugelmin, and they both crashed, trying to avoid Pierluigi Martini, who spun in front of them. Johansson managed to get through it unscathed, but Nakajima had to retire, and so did the unfortunate Gugelmin. How about that one, Sterling?
Well, it's the irony of it, actually. I mean, Martini caused it and continued unscathed, whereas poor old Gugelmin, who did everything correctly, was punted off by Nakajima, and they were both pushed out of the race. A very unfortunate situation.
And there'd been a great battle for 3rd place, with Nelson Piquet chased hard by Patrese and Mansell, who battled long during the Australian Grand Prix. Hadn't quite got ahead, but really had threatened. And then Patrese did this. He spun off, dropping himself from 4th down to 5th place, but managed to regain the track. And off he went in the Williams Judd. A great drive from Riccardo Patrese. And Derek Warwick came into the pits and retired with engine problems. Teammate Cheever went out a lap before, also with engine problems.
1 lap later, Nigel Mansell manages to outdo his teammate by parking his Williams firmly in the barrier. I don't know about you, but I don't think there was a particularly generous going away present to his old team.
Well, I thought it was unfortunate for Mansell because he'd pushed really hard during this, his last Grand Prix for Williams, and he certainly didn't deserve to end up in the barriers, but there we are. Ghinzani retired out of fuel. That was the last turbocharged retirement. So Ghinzani gave up. And Andrea De Cesaris, who hadn't had a fuel gauge and had the smallest fuel tank, retired out of fuel after pushing too hard from 5th place. So into 5th went Thierry Boutsen, who'd been lying well down the field as the McLaren mechanics waited for Alain Prost to come across the line. Yes, they wanted to get on with the barbecue because they knew the beer was getting warm. So Alain obliged by coming home and taking the checkered flag, showing that he was still in fine form, bringing the curtain down on the 1988 Grand Prix season to score his 35th Grand Prix win. 7 wins to Prost, 8 to Senna, but if you discount the 11 best score rule, Prost actually scored more points than Senna in their epic struggle.